to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams After Dark.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Boy, that thunder just never goes away down here at the compound down at the harbor. Aliens, abductions. What do you think? Do you think we are being abducted by aliens? Do you think they're walking among us? I don't know. I got a funny feeling they're your neighbor, matter of fact, could be, well, I hate to say it, they might not be human. I don't know. I sure hate to find out somebody that borrowed my hammer last year and never returned it was not human. Anyway, we're back, Dave and James on Night Dreams Talk Radio. By the way, check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Now, Dave, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to, share your heart out about what you really think is happening and what you want to share to the listeners.
Okay, I'd like to start by saying it's hard. This is a subject that's really hard to prove to anybody. I've had witnesses with me on two close-up sightings of UFOs, a large triangle in which my family saw, my mom and two brothers, a large triangle craft to come over the neighborhood in April of 2011. And I saw the first one at 14 years of age. I saw another one that looked like a glider, but it was all metal, shiny metal, and moved real slow over the refinery. And I had I was downloaded with a futuristic happening that was going to happen to the refinery. It was going to close, and the guys called me a liar because they were putting money in. I said, no, they're closing. So they upload and download from you. They can manipulate our consciousness, our minds. And the other two that I saw one fly over my car, and it just so happened to pick me out of about 7 cars on the highway, the interstate one night. It flew right over me. It was a small disc. It had glass-shaped pie cuts. They're triangle cuts, and with a real dark center to it. I saw that one close up, and I saw another real bright one on the side of the road. It was really bright, and I felt really sluggish, and I felt like I had this magnetic energy that was pulling me down and making me really tired, so I pulled off the side of the road. Well, those are the 5 close-up encounters I've had. From all indication, they say if they get that close to you, from all indications of what the pseudoscientists talk about, and even some people like Professor Mack and David Jacobs, they've said the same thing. If they get that close to you, then they're going to reach out and touch you somehow. So I've seen 5 up close, got witnesses to 2 of them, and that tells me that I have a basis to I guess to know that they made contact with me, and they left some regressed dreams in my brain that I can't get rid of, and I can remember these stories like today, real vivid. But what I want to say is, starting in time, we're getting back to 65,000 years ago, when the Anunnaki, I guess, it manipulated our DNA. But there was something that started also. I'm not knocking religion or biblical history, but in the Bible it talks about Noah, and they said in Noah in the book of Enoch, he was tall, he was really light complected, had blue eyes, and he had blonde hair. So that tells me he was not from here. And so when he made Noah's Ark, a lot of people's going to argue with me about this, but my assumption is that he took DNA. He didn't take all the animals. This was a ship that I guess his alien friends helped him build, and he took, I guess, the family or some people around him to restart things. But he also took the DNA samples, and you couldn't get all them critters on a vessel like that to survive. So I'm not, like I said, I do believe in God. I know a lot of these things. You asked me if I was afraid. A lot of these things enlightened me. They actually kind of they grew I felt very spiritual at some of these things that happen. It's a feeling of awe when you see something from out of this world and you see it up close. It's just awe-inspiring. Your eyes are just glued to that item, that craft, and you're just in awe. And it's a spiritual feeling. I don't know, how else I can describe it. And I guess that's why I feel protected. I don't feel afraid of the contacts that I've had. Some people might have run into the wrong aliens, but the ones I've ran into were the little blue-eyed creature, the little gray, the hybrid, and the tall Nordic, and then the blue spotted hybrid alien. I ran into those types, and I saw the one cobra-looking thing just for a little while. It just showed itself to me. So I know that there's something else out there. I know there's life out there, and there's if you just look around the skies more, if you look up, it's like me. I'm always looking up. Even my wife has gotten in a habit of looking up all the time when we're driving, because we've seen a couple of UFOs while we were driving, and she pointed at one, and she said, "There's one." It was kind of like gleaming, come down below clouds, and it looked like a triangle, and then went back up into the clouds. And she said, "That's a UFO, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And so we've seen things together. If you open your mind up, it seems like they know that you're receptive of them also. They can read minds. They can go over us. They can go over our homes or whatever. They can pick up our vibrations, our energies, and our DNA signals. We all have a frequency. It's a DNA frequency. They can pick it up. And I think also when you go back, you talk about frequencies and spiritual matters. I believe that Jesus was the highest form of the alien. He was a spiritual alien that took the body of a man. And there's a species that they talk about that are angels that come here and they intervene sometimes. I believe that. I believe there's interdimensional entities that come in and out. But I believe they could be spiritual in nature, or angels as they call them. History back 4,000 or 5,000 years, they talked about angels that would help people out. So some are here to help us, but those are the spiritual ones. Those are the highest form. And I read a book about that, about the spiritual aliens being the highest form. So, and we also have a spirit that they can't mess with. I know that also. When I was on the ship, I was walking in this hallway, and I had a black box next to my foot. I read about it later that sometimes they can actually separate your conscious and your spiritual and your soul from everything else, but they cannot mess with our soul. That's one thing they can't do. They might take our bodies, but our soul will go other. It'll go across the thin veil or the next dimension. And I also realize, and I know this for a fact, that I can tell listeners that there is another side to our lives. We do go on. We have a spiritual form, body, and we do go through, and we go somewhere else. I don't know where, but I'm sure that the things that I've been through, I felt like I crossed over into another dimension. And that other dimension holds more than just, I guess, ETs. It holds people that have souls that have gone beyond and left this planet and went beyond. It's hard to really explain to people. A lot of people, I think about 40% of the people will believe and they'll accept what you're saying, but there's a large percentage out there that's hard to really explain, and they ask you, can you prove it? Well, no. I've had witnesses that have seen things with me. I've had a brother who's seen a man just disappear in front of our eyes. He walked around from an art museum that we were at, and he was gone. So my brother said, wow, that's strange. So people around me have seen some strange things with me. I've seen these humanoids come up to me, and they'll look at me kind of weird, and they'll walk around a corner, and I'll go chase them down, and they'll be gone. And this happened about 3 times that I know of. And so there is a dimension. They can come in and out. And ETs, the different races, I've heard somebody count as many as 57 species. And they think there's 4 or 5 species working with us. The tall whites are mentioned, and the grays are mentioned that are working with us. And I don't want to get into the military thing. I've never seen aliens with military or military intermingled with aliens, so I want to make that clear. That's something I don't want to see either, because that would be more dangerous than dealing with the aliens by themselves. But I just want to let people know that there's something else out there. It's waiting for us, and we are spiritual beings. There was one time that I was actually they can duplicate us. It's called a verdog. If you look it up, it's a Swedish name that come about 600-700 years ago, or even longer. That there's a duplicate of us. Sometimes it could be right near us, but they say if you ever see your own duplicate, that's the day that you die. That's the weird superstition of a verdog. What they do is they make a copy of you, and it looks like you, smells like you, talks like you, walks like you. That happened to me coming through New Mexico. I was near the Trinity site, and something banged on my window as I was driving, and I felt the energy in the car, and all the hairs on my arms and back of my neck just stood up, and 5 minutes later, it banged. It went back out. So I went to Roswell, rode around there for a while, and I went to San Antonio, and I checked into this room, and the gal that was taking care of me at the desk, she signed me in, and she said she'd be back again in the morning. I said, "Well, you don't sleep much," but she come back. I was checking out the next day, and she said, "I saw you." I said, "Where?" I said, "I was here last night." She said, "No, I saw you at 11:30 at Walmart." And I said, "No." I said, "I was in bed. I hurt my leg. I was slipping out of the car on the gravel." I said, "No, I took a bunch of ibuprofen, and I was asleep at 10:30 after I ate." I said, "You didn't see me." She said, "Oh, yes, I did. That was you." I said, "I don't want to argue with you," but she said, "That was you." I said, No. So, so being in a different town, I just figured I just better get out of here. I wanted to tell her manager, this girl's crazy. But what happened was a follow-up fact. Again, this is another follow-up fact. I come back, went to my car dealership, and I was getting my car estimated from the hail damage, and a guy said, "You've been sitting there for almost 2 hours." I said, "No, that's not me. I just sat here the last 3 minutes. I just sat down." He said, "No, I saw you there for 2 hours." And I said, "Sir," I said, "No." And he looked like a lawyer type or something. He said, "I know what you look like." He said, "It was you." And he said, "I don't want to talk about it anymore. You're going to get me mad." I said, "I'm sorry, sir. It wasn't me." So I felt something was weird going on. So I thought maybe there was a double that was following me close in my time frame or time period or whatever. So that's what they call a verdog, and I think the ETs are responsible for that. They can make duplicates of us. Whether we're in a parallel universe, these duplicates cross that veil and come in, but we don't see them, but other people can see them, and they'll say, "Well, I just saw you just a while ago." And no, it wasn't me. No. So these two things it wasn't mistaken identity. These two were so serious that they were angry. But what I want to let everybody know that they exist, look up, keep an open mind about everything. I'm talking about politics.